In this video, we are going to talk about combinations and permutations and using them in our calculator. Now, just a little review. If I'm working with a permutation, order does matter. In a combination, order does not matter. This is the formula for combination, and this is a formula for permutation. Now, this video is really just concentrating on how to use them in your calculator. But let's review just a little bit about what is a combination and a permutation. So let's say I'm going to get healthy. I'm eating 2 pieces of fruit a day. I have a choice. I have an apple, an orange, or a banana. So I can choose an apple and an orange. I could choose an apple and a banana, or an orange and a banana. I don't care about which order. It's just I'm going to choose 2 out of those 3 pieces of fruit. There are 3 combinations. Now, what about if I am a little more particular about which fruit I have for lunch and which fruit I eat for dinner? Well, if I'm going with the apple and the orange combo, I could have an apple for lunch and an orange for dinner. Or I could do the orange for lunch and the apple for dinner. What about if I go with a combo with the apple and the banana? I could do the apple for lunch, the banana for dinner, and you're getting the gist. But there are 6 different ways if the order matters. Now let's get back to the calculator. Now, if you are working with the formulas, I do want to remind you where the factorial button is, but let's say we want to find 5 factorial on our calculator. Input your number 5, go to the math button on your calculator, scroll over to probability, go down to number 4 when you get to the probability screen, and there's your factorial button. Okay, so let's just look at that real quickly. I'm going to hit 5 on my calculator. I'm going to go to the math button. I'm going over to the probability. And then I see my factorial button. I went down to number 4, hit enter, and hit enter again. The answer is 120. Let's get back to our PowerPoint. So what I want to teach you how to do is enter combinations and permutations in your calculator. So it's on the same screen as the factorial. We will go to the math button. We will scroll over to probability. And you should see that the permutation is number 2 and the combination is number 3. Now, depending on your calculator, the older calculators, you do need to enter the N first and then press the math button. On the newer calculators, you can do that if you want to, but you don't have to. You could go straight to the math button, scroll over to probability, go down to number 2 or 3, which is either the permutation or the combination, press enter. Then you could input the N. Then you'll scroll over to the other blinking box and enter your R and press the enter button. I want us to practice we have 3 pieces of fruit and we want to choose 2 problem with our calculator. Once again, if you are working with the formulas, this would be the formula, but I want to do it with my calculator. I went to the math button, I scrolled over to probability, and I'm going to go down to the combination. Hit enter. And you will see I now have a place to put my N and my R. So I will enter 3. I'll scroll over to the other blinking box, hit 2, hit enter. And so there are 3 combinations. And that is what we got. 3 combinations of how I could have 3 pieces of fruit and only choose 2. Okay, let's work on our permutation. So I'm going to go to my math button, go over to probability. Now, if I don't want to scroll down, I could just hit number 2 because that's where the permutation is. And you see it gets me right to this screen. Once again, I have 3 items. Scroll over to the other blinking box. 3, choose 2, enter. So if I have 3 items, I'm choosing 2, but the order does matter. There are 6 possibilities. And sure enough, There were 6 choices when the order did matter. Remember, if you have an older calculator, I would have to enter 3 first and then go to the math button, scroll over to probability. I'll just do the permutation again, number 2. And it would not look like this in your calculator, but you will still get the same answer. Okay, let's try one more problem. You and 19 of your friends are going to form a club. So we need a CEO, we need an operating manager, and we need a treasurer. This is a little tricky because they said you and 19 of your friends. So there are 20 people in this club. So our N is 20, and we're choosing 3 people. Now this is a permutation because the order does matter. I could work it out like this. How many choices do you have for CEO? Well, there are 20 people. How many choices for operating manager? Well, if the CEO is already chosen, you only have 19 people left. And then after you choose your operating manager, you only have 18 people left for treasurer. There are 6,840 ways we could do this. So out of 20 people, I'm choosing 3, and order does matter. I would use this formula for permutation. This is doing it by hand. It would be 20 factorial over 20 minus 3, which is 17 factorial. But we're talking about doing it in our calculator. I'm going back to my calculator. So math, scroll over to probability. I'm doing a permutation number 2. I had 20 people. For my officers, I am choosing 3. And I also got that there will be 6,840 ways to choose my officer. Good luck with your combinations and permutations.